Hello, and welcome to the Write Club podcast, where we take you behind the pages and into the fascinating world of writing. I'm Beth, and this is Mary, and we're part of the team at Writing Magazine and Writers Online. Hi, Mary. How are you doing today?
I'm really well, thank you. Let me tell you about this week's guest. R. Haywood is a British author known for his captivating works in science fiction. His original storytelling style and knack for creating engaging characters and narratives driven by strong humour and real-life grit has gained him a dedicated following of readers from around the world. Haywood's literary journey began with a series of successful self-published novels, starting with the Undead Days series. This series, an original fresh take on the post-apocalyptic zombie genre, proved to be a breakthrough for him. Over the last few years, Haywood has become one of the top 10 most downloaded indie writers in the UK and is consistently an Amazon All-Star author, a programme dedicated to rewarding the top 100 authors on Amazon.
Wow, what a CV you've got there.
Thank
That's
you very much.
that's pretty impressive.
I feel rather
Um,
humbled listening to that, man.
well, welcome to the podcast. We are so happy to have you here. Are you in your usual writing space?
I am, yes. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you both. And yes, thank you very much. And I am, yes. I'm in my little home office at home.
Oh, it looks lovely. I mean, it's a shame that this is audio only because we are the only
Thank
people
you.
who can see it. But I can see you've got lots of
Yeah,
framed covers on your wall. Very
yeah. I
nice.
have. I would show the other bit, but I'm currently mid-book. It's an absolute tip. It's a mess. It's really bad because I'm like Einstein. When my desk just gets covered in notes and scraps of paper and scribbles, and it looks like a bomb's gone off in here. So I've managed to hide most of that.
For those who haven't come across you or your writing before, would you be able to give us a brief summary of the Undead Days?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, I started writing that in 2012. I was still a police officer then. And I'd read a book. I really loved apocalyptic fiction. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, but I was a little bit frustrated because most apocalyptic books I was reading, they tended to cover whatever outbreak it was, whether it was like a zombie apocalypse or a bomb going off or some kind of disease or something. And then it all skipped forward 10 years later when everyone was living in like Welsh valleys eating carrots and things. And I wanted the detail. I wanted what happens? What is that? What does it look like day by day? How does the infrastructure fall apart? How long does water last? How long does fuel last? How long does electricity last? All those kind of things. And particularly as well, most of that content tends to come out of America, doesn't it? Where everyone can. The perception is you just go to a cupboard and you've got machine guns, and of course
Yeah.
we don't have that here. We might have like a wine corkscrew or something like that. So I just wanted to do it from a kind of British perspective. And I'd always wanted to write. I was writing short stories when I was a kid, and then when I became a police officer, I really enjoyed taking statements from people, and being able to, present that incident to the courts in a way that would help that person. So I really enjoyed writing. And then I read this book called 3 Feet of Sky by a chap called Stephen Ayres. And when I finished the book, it was a brilliant book, really innovative about miniature people living in a world. And when I finished the book, I tried to look the author up and realised it's self-published. And that was it. I was just like, what is this? What does this mean? Because I've read it on my Kindle, and then of course that was it. I was an early one into the system. I realised that you could actually write your own book and put it online, and so I wrote the Undead Day one, and the first version. Honestly, it was like a 12-year-old with a crayon. It was a 5-year-old with a crayon. It was really bad. It was terrible. Um, and so I put that out. That was only a short story, like I think 20,000 words, but that was it. I was hooked. I was just fell in love. I've never just even self. No one read it, but I was absolutely hooked, and I thought, well, I'm just going to keep going. And my initial plan was to write 7 books, day one to day seven, and in those 7 books, I'd teach myself how to write because I never got past high school. When I joined the police back then, they just did tests on you to see if you were intelligent enough to like tie your own shoelaces. so we didn't. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to university. I've never done any kind of crazy writing courses. My grammar was terrible. We'd already started leaning into things like spell checks. Even my spelling was terrible. So I just went for it. I was writing it on Word, uploading it to Amazon day by day, and each day I was teaching myself another aspect of writing, just words on a page, a character emotion, then a second character to have dialogue, then two storylines emerging, and then later the complexity of moving characters from point A to B through a geographical landscape. And of course, all during that, I was thinking again, can you drink the water? Do the electricity last? So I was doing research, and I loved the research. And I was taking experiences from my policeman career of how people react in times of crisis and civil unrest. And so I put in all these things together. Still nobody read it. Nobody at all. But I was absolutely hooked, and then I put those 7 books into one book, and I called it The Undead: The First 7 Days. And I put that out as a compilation, and it just kind of picked up and just started building this small audience that absolutely adored these characters that I'd thrown into it. I think the realism helped, being able to actually look at the details of things. Um, and it went from there. And that was the original plan, was to just do that book and then go off and write more science fiction and things. And I couldn't let it go, and I never have. And even now, with all the big science fiction stuff that I've written that's been #1 in countries and been optioned for movies, I still keep going back to the Undead, and I still keep doing those little self-published books. And yeah, yes,
I wanted to ask you about the self-publishing, but was it mainly through Amazon that you did it? You
yeah,
just
yeah. I'm
uploaded them?
exclusive. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely, I'm
right, okay.
exclusive to Amazon. Yeah, I do. Um, yes, it was. It was initially through Amazon, and I've stayed with them ever since. And then later, I've been published, hybrid published, traditionally published. So lots of things. So every once in a while, I'll look at a project and think, well, I'll get this into the publishing network, as it were, so I can maintain contact and be versatile. But yeah, I still try and maintain a strong presence in self-publishing. I love it. I love the freedom it offers.
Mm, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And honestly, the book, it was just, I mean, I absolutely loved it. And I feel like I was maybe the wrong person to be given this book to start off with, because I kind of had like a perception of what it was going to be like before I even
Everybody does
opened
that. Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
like, I mean, when I always thought like once you've read one zombie book or seen one zombie film, you've probably read or seen them all. But how wrong was I?
That's lovely
I
to hear. Thank you.
honestly absolutely loved it. And the fact that it was like over 700 or so pages, I thought, oh, it might take me a little while to get through, but I sped through it because I just
Oh,
couldn't
that's
I
brilliant.
couldn't put it down. And I'd be like sat in bed reading and laughing out loud, and my partner would be like, "Can you shut up?" But honestly, I've never read anything like it. It
Oh,
was,
amazing.
yeah, I
Thank you so
really,
much.
really enjoyed it. And
Oh, really,
I
that's
loved
good.
the humor in it and the relationship between Dave and Howie.
Yeah,
Yeah, so unique. And
thank
yeah,
you
I
very
really,
much.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I get that perception a lot, and even people that read all my other science fiction books, and then even the crime books I'm doing, they've done well, and I still get emails every day going, I don't read zombies, so I'm not going to do that one. Okay, that's fine. But it's not really zombies. It's nothing like Walking Dead or
No,
anything like that. And they're not really decaying dead zombies either. They're just got an infection in them, and that infection then
yeah.
becomes a character, doesn't it? Starts talking, and I have great fun with that later in the series.
Yeah, I think actually this is probably one of the only zombie themed things that I've either read or watched that actually I wouldn't have minded being a part of.
Oh, okay.
Like, obviously, like The Walking Dead or something like that, you're like, oh, this sounds rough. Like, you don't want to be part of that. And yeah, it does sound rough. But actually, this group of people, especially like without giving too much away, when you get further into the book and you start meeting more people, it actually seems like a really fun like
Yeah,
community. It's like,
yeah, it does. And then that cast I mean, I'm on like book 33. I've got hundreds of characters. It's like Game of Thrones or something. It's enormous. It's massive, and yeah, and it does make you. And I always thought that was always my biggest thing. Is I don't want misery and grittiness, and because I was watching The Walking Dead and all those kind of things, and after a while you just kind of get, God, does anyone smile in these? You know, and coming from a policing background, I've been in the police for 20 years, that's a misconception as well, because everything we do is driven by humor, that dark black humor. Because otherwise,
Hmm.
if you don't, you'd end up crying all the time because of some of the things we deal with. And I really wanted to put that in there. It's not all about misery. There is hope. And if you work together and if you find good mates and you can form like you just say, form a community. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you first published The Undead back in 2012, but you
Mm,
recently released a fully rewritten version in 2025.
I
As
did,
a
yeah.
writer, what was it like returning to that debut world with over a decade of extra experience? And was
Oh,
there a specific part of Howie's journey that you found yourself viewing through a different lens this time around?
massively, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd had it a lot. It's a really good question. I'd had it a lot from because my grammar was poor, the structure was poor. I didn't know anything about the act structure. I didn't know anything about writing whatsoever. I just kind of threw myself at it, and and a lot of people kept saying, "Why don't you go back and fix it?" And I was like, "Well, I want to make progress." And readers were saying as well that when they read the whole of the Undead series, they could see my progression as a writer, developing, and that was rewarding to them. And it encouraged a lot of other people to think, well, I can do it. If you did it, I didn't go to university. I don't know where commas go. Then I can do it. Later, when I started earning money, I was able to go back and get it edited and fixed and make it grammatically correct. Structurally, though, and then recently, I just had a bit of time. I've written a book that was in the machinations of traditional publishing, Changing Worlds with Titan, and another couple of big science fiction books that were kind of going through their deadlines. But I had a bit of time, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go back and have a look at it. And I didn't think I'd enjoy it. I thought it would be because by the time you finish writing a book, generally you detest it so much you never want to see it again. So, but enough time had passed, and halfway through day one, I was hooked, and it was so strange because it was like going back to the beginning, thinking all of a sudden I can rewrite this, and I know where they end up. I know where the journey is ahead, so I can start adding things now and changing things. And of course, language evolves. Um, as society has changed, so um, yeah, it was massively rewarding. It was a big challenge, um, and yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it, but it took a
Mm.
very long time for me to pluck that courage up to go back. Because again, it feels like it's a waste of time. I've written that book. What am I going to get if I go back and redo it? Um, but yes, sorry, that was a long waffling answer.
No, absolutely. It's great. And
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know, how much of it did you actually change? Like, was the story still the same? And also, how did you make it longer, shorter? I'm just really interested to know, like, how
Yeah.
your process worked with that.
So the end one, it ended up about, I think it's probably about 80 to 100,000 words shorter than the first one.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
significantly shorter. Yeah, yeah. And obviously back then I didn't understand things like cadence, structure, keeping on point. There were some waffly long bits, and you know, I was cringing a lot with with my skills and abilities now, going back and, "Oh, I can't believe I wrote this. Gee, this is so terrible. This is awful." But then having to remind myself that people liked it. So there's that journey. Um, Structurally, they still start in the same place. Howie starts off in his flat pretty much, meets Dave. They then end up meeting the lads in Salisbury. They then go into London. So those things stay the same. But there's a lot of in between bits that I changed. A lot of side things that they'd gone and done in the first one. I thought, well, I don't really need that now. I'll keep the pressure on. And like keeping the pace as well, keeping it immersive, keeping it fun.
Yeah.
So I really focused on that, and some other. I chucked in some other new characters, some other new little bits. Yeah.
Mm.
So structurally, point A to point B is the same, but it was just the journey they took slightly deviated a
Okay.
little bit more. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. I can definitely see that you've worked a lot on the pacing because it felt so quick. But one of the things that I absolutely loved was the voice. It's super original, it's really funny and very gritty. Zombie stories can normally, like you mentioned, feel quite bleak. But the
Mm.
bond that you have that you've created between Howie and Dave brings so much heart into this chaotic world. So how did you work on balancing that laugh out loud comedy with the high stakes horror without kind of losing the tension of what's going on in the world?
Well, I was really fortunate because after um, I think I'd done the Undead day 13, day 14, around that mark. Um, Amazon Publishing 47 North were really keen to publish the Undead. So my agent, we were having discussions with Amazon about them taking on and publishing the Undead. Um, but by that point, the material was already so massive and so big that they said, well, it's going to take quite a long time to rework it to our standard, through a traditional publishing network. So how about you write something else? And I said, well, what do you want? And they went, how about time travel? I went, okay, I'll go and write a time travel book. So I wrote Extracted, thinking it would just be, like another project, a bit like the Undead. But that became a massive hit. It was number one in America, the UK, Australia. Got options straight away. It's huge. It was like a proper big blockbuster book. I was, oh, this just caught me out. I wasn't expecting that. But what that did is it put me through the traditional publishing process. And it really taught me a lot. And then that was a trilogy. So I had multiple rounds of structural edits, copy edits, proofreading, and I worked with some absolutely fantastic editors. And it really opened my eyes to things like cadence, avoiding the sagging middle bit, particularly in an action novel, and how to blend as well. That was the other really big thing because I want people to be invested in my characters. That means they've got to know about the characters. So you've got to blend introspection with backstory, with pace, with plot progression, and allow for humor and allow for realism and action and reaction. So it can be bloody hard work sometimes trying to get that blend absolutely right, and a lot of editing, a lot of going back over it. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so I was lucky that extracted and being all of a sudden being taught by some absolutely industry standard editors, and I still work with some of those editors now because they're freelance. So, I still send them projects and we still work together. And then later, I had other publishing projects with Audible and Canelo and most recently with Titan. And again, you're going through new editing process. Each new editor you work with has a different way of doing things, so you learn from them, learn how to do different things, and then you put it all into practice. Yeah.
It was interesting what you were saying there about the momentum and the saggy middle, because I wanted to ask you about that because it is, such a long book, but it's so fast
Yeah.
paced. How, if you could maybe give our listeners some tips on how they can avoid that saggy middle, because that's a problem
It
that a
is.
lot of writers have.
Yeah. There's no one thing. I do so on TikTok I was doing it for a little while. The writing class for the working class when I do little short videos giving writing tips to people like me that haven't been able to access things like creative writing courses. Because a lot of people out there, particularly working class people that don't have the money, don't have the time, they just want to, but they still got a voice and they still got a story to tell. And so I'm just giving little tips, and I'm saying it's about blending. It's like making a cake. That's what it is. You've got to blend those things together. A lot of authors, unfortunately, they'll start off with trying to shove all the information at the reader straight away. So they'll drown a story straight away in backstory. It's too much. You need to get rid of it. And you keep it, chop it all up into little pieces, and then just sprinkle it through. It's a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And people like Stephen King wrote a book called On Writing a long time ago. It's still massively relevant. It's about how to set scene, how to explain where the characters are. For the most part, you need the minimal amount of description possible because let readers use their imagination. So saying in an average English house, the man walks into the lounge, people are going to conjure that image in their head straight away. You don't need to add anything to it. We all know what a lounge looks like, and we can put that into our ingrained class system. What is it? A working class house, a middle class house? Is it a posh house? And we pictures there, isn't it? You don't need to add anything more to that. And then it's about character progression. Don't let it sag too much, and keep the dialogue real as well. That's the other mistake people make is in life. I'm very aware suddenly that I'm doing it now. In normal life, we don't make monologues, do we? A conversation is organic and natural. It's we jump in and chop over and cut in, and whereas in books a lot of the time you see these people making these long speeches and everyone's just
Mm.
listening to them. Think, well, that never bloody happens.
Yeah.
Someone's going to make a sarcastic comment. Someone's going to jump in. Someone's going to be on board, gets the point, and it's that. And that all those things help to keep it realistic and keep it moving. And there's another thing as well I've got, which I remember when I did this when I was first starting out. Any point when I'm writing it, if I'm starting to get a bit bored with it, I've got like an imaginary thing in my head called the outrage dial, and I think, right, just turn it up to 10. What can I throw in? Throw something in, kill one of the characters, do something, have something unexpected. It's got to suit the story. It's still got to be organic to the story. You can't suddenly have aliens land if it's a crime novel. That's not going to work. It's got to be organic and it's got to fit the vibe. Throw something in, shake things up, be unexpected, put something bold in, challenge yourself, challenge your characters. How are your characters going to react to that? Jolt the reader. Even if you've got a beloved character, kill them, because then the reader's going to be like, "Oh my god, I wasn't expecting that." What's going to happen next, and that's when you get the cadence. So it's all those things together. There's no one secret, is there really? Unfortunately, I wish there was.
Yeah. That's brilliant advice. We've got so many different tips for our listeners to go away and try this. So thank you for that.
Yeah, in this particular world of the Undead series, the infection isn't static, it evolves and gets smarter. This creates a very different kind of villain than the typical mindless zombie. From a narrative perspective, how does a clever enemy change the way you plot your action sequences compared to a standard survival story?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, blimey. Well, it depends, doesn't it, on I think if you're writing linear, so if you're making it up as you go along, most writers do. We start off with a rough idea, don't we? And we think, well, I'm just going to kind of start writing the characters. I mean, like, that's the difference, isn't it? Someone like Dan Brown writing the Da Vinci Code, it's plotted out months and years in advance. Every twist and turn is plotted, and then the characters are woven in around the plot later, aren't they? Whereas I think most of us that are linear writers will throw the character at the situation, and we're learning the character as we go, and then we're learning the plot so that the plot evolves. So what I tend to do is I push the character into the situation, and then I'll have the other side, protagonist, antagonist, do something else, and then it is action reaction. What would you do to react to this in real life? Okay, and then what would you do to react to this in real life? All the time thinking I want to keep that plot progressing. And in the Undead, I thought, wouldn't it be fun if this thing kind of gave sentience and starts becoming smart, thinking for itself? And everyone starts off thinking it's just mindless zombies, bosh them over the head with an axe and it's done. It's not. This thing's thinking. And then all the way through the whole of the series, this thing develops a hive mind in these groups of zombies and these groups of undead infected people, and each one of them becomes different. So then you get different kind of characters within themselves, and it reaches a point where it's thinking and planning, and then the race is on. We've got to stop this thing before it becomes smarter than us, and that becomes the backbone of the story.
Mm.
But yeah, it is just a matter of making it up as you go along. But it's not that simple, but really it is, isn't
I
it?
feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of your journey, isn't it? You're like learning as you
Yeah,
go with all the publishing
absolutely.
processes and
Yeah.
then as you write, but that feels so much more natural. Like what would
Yes.
happen now? Like you're in the story
Yes.
rather than it being very overly plotted. Because I think sometimes you
In
can
fact, I
tell.
say that. Yeah, I say that. I do say that. I say that to working class authors. When anyone reaches out to me, I say it million times on my tips online. Um, and this isn't any detriment to any creative writing courses. Absolutely no detriment at all, because there are some massively successful authors that have come through the route of creative writing courses or English literature degrees and so on and so forth. But there's also a big bunch of authors out there that will work better if you don't plot, don't plan your book. Because if you plot and plan your book and you write the scenes out and the characters, in a way you've exhausted the creative desire to then go ahead and do it because you've formed the story in your head. So that when you come to then write it, the desire's not there anymore because you've done it. If you're making it up as you go along, you might have a rough idea and think, oh, well, I kind of want to see what these characters do in this situation. and then you evolve. And in general, what happens is, I say to people, you'll get this raw flow of energy, which will carry you through about a third of the way of the book. And you'll write garbage. Everything will be all over the place. It will be an absolute mess. And all of a sudden, you'll dry up. You'll come to an absolute crashing stop. And that's the point. You go back to the start and you reorder. You go, what is my story? Where are my characters? What's the relevant bits? Who can I get rid of? Who's developing? And that's the story there. That's the thing. And then you start going forward. Um, but yeah, sorry, I forgot your
Uh-huh.
question.
No, don't worry, you answered it.
I was waffling on so much.
No, that was brilliant. And I actually was wanted to mention one of the parts that I mean, say parts, one of the themes um, that you have going through the whole book is how he's saying that they're zombies, not zombies.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
That,
just wanted to bring that bit up because that every time he said it, it just made me chuckle.
oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. That's really nice. Thank you very much.
And is there anything that you're working on at the minute that you can share with us? Anything new coming?
God, because I'm just constant now. I'm churning material out like there's no tomorrow. So I've done Changing Worlds. So aside from the Undead, I did a big that trilogy time travel extracted one, and then I did another time travel one called A Town Called Discovery. Then that later I followed up with an AI book called Delio Phase One and Delio Phase Two. And they form their own kind of multiverse. All those books, they're all kind of individual stories that can be read and enjoyed on their own. Some of them are quite serious, some of them are a lot more fun. So I've just written a new one in that called Changing Worlds, which is a time travel parallel world story. Um, that's epic, massive, huge science fiction. I can't wait for that to come out. It's so much fun to write that. And Titan have got that, so they're putting that out in January, I think, in 2027. I think that's coming out then. And then Extracted, that trilogy ended back in I think 2019. And I've just done the fourth book. That's what I'm writing on now. I've gone back to that. I didn't know, I wanted to continue it, but I didn't know how. And then all of a sudden, I popped in my head. I was like, oh, I've got the idea. So I'm knee deep writing that at the moment. That's due out in a month, and I'm just doing a very quick rewrite to change the plot a little bit on that. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Busy, busy then.
yes, that's good. And then I wrote this lovely little crime book called Gaslit that was narrated by Gethin Anthony. He was from Game of Thrones and did loads of stuff. What he narrated it, absolutely wonderful guy. He's really really nice. And he's adapted it for a TV show. So he scripted it up into like a six-part dark comic crime thing. So that's going out at the moment to production company. So fingers crossed that
Oh,
I hope
brilliant.
that'll get picked up. Yeah, yeah. I've had
Yeah.
a lot of options, a lot of shopping agreements, a lot of kind of Hollywood people picking things up, which is really cool. But you don't really get involved with them because they take it and they want to do what they want to do. But I've been fortunate enough to speak to Geff and a lot as he's been adapting it into a script and then treatment. So that's been an amazing experience. We're all really excited for that one. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, very exciting. Is there any
Yeah.
plans for the Undead to be made
Oh
into
God, yeah.
TV?
Do you know what? I've had loads of approaches. I've had some big companies come forward with it. God, but I've always said no. I
It'd
always,
be perfect. I can just
yeah,
picture it
no.
all now.
But I'm so protective over it. Any other project, if people come and they say, "Oh, we love this book, Fiction Land, or anything else, but we want to make changes," I'm like, "Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. I'm not precious at all."
Mm.
The Undead, I'm like, "No, no, it's got no, I can't." So I've written it into a script. I've written it I've written the first episode and the first season as it would be, and how I'd change it and how I'd do it. But I think I couldn't let someone else do it. I'd have to be on hand. I'd have to be the person making that. But I don't know. Maybe one day maybe one day I'll do it. Um, but I've had quite a lot of approaches and interest. But I think I'd want to make the pilot. I'd want to make the first one. Um, do it myself. So,
Oh,
but we'll see.
amazing.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
yeah,
see that coming out from you at some
yeah,
point in the future then.
yeah. It would be
Director.
good. No, oh no, 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 no. I just want to be there going. No, don't make Howie do that. Don't let Howie Dave do that. I'd be a pest. It'd be awful. They'd hate me.
And we always like to end the Right Club with a book recommendation for our listeners. Is there something that you have read recently that you could recommend to us today?
There is actually. So I don't know if you've heard about it. There's a book called Senlin Ascends. The author's called, I think his name's Josiah Bancroft. Um, it's a kind of science fiction book, but the author was a poet before he turned to writing, and it's just a cracking little science fiction story about a guy who loses his wife in a big tower and he has to go and find her. But it's just beautifully written. Um, and I think it's just gorgeous. It's a real book that blends alliteration and poetry into a commercially successful science fiction story. And it blew my socks off. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, and you don't realize it's science fiction at all because it's so beautifully written. So I'd
Mm.
recommend that to anybody. Yeah, definitely.
That sounds
Oh,
lovely.
yeah, I can imagine that being really satisfying to read,
It is.
coming from
Yeah.
a poet turned novelist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a
gonna
proper
have to check.
wordsmith, someone who can bend the language to suit them, and when you put that into dialogue scenes, and because it's a tower, he's going up. Each level is slightly different, so it's a kind of reset. What's next? What's next? And I couldn't put it down. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and it really made me think about my own alliteration as well. It really challenged me. So if anyone's out there thinking, you know, I want to be a writer. And the best advice, isn't it, is go and read everything you possibly can if you want to be a writer. Read every genre there is. That's definitely one I put in there. It's a gorgeous book. Yeah.
Can you tell us the name again? I can't remember it.
Senlin, Senlin, Senlin Ascends.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Gonna have to
wonderful.
add that to the list.
Yeah,
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
you're very welcome.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really lovely to chat to you.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much. I do apologise. People get me talking about pigeons and dogs and books. I just go on forever. So if I've done that, I do apologise.
I mean, it's not a bad morning, is it, if you can chat about all those things? I'm very happy.
No, that's all.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Thanks so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you there today.
Oh, thank you, and you. Thanks for tuning into the Write Club. We hope you enjoyed this episode and feel inspired to keep writing. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at Writers Online, your go-to for writing tips, competitions, and exclusive updates. Plus, you'll never miss an episode of the Write Club. Until next time, happy writing.